with Pittsburgh. His roommate in college helped negotiate.
All right, welcome back to Seminoles Sideline 365. Happy Halloween. I hope you all are having a great, however you celebrate, candy, whatever. Hope your kids, if you have kids, had a great one. We're having a good one over here, and I don't even know what the hell is going on with the old man right now. It seems like he's
that's what. The old man. I've eaten the old man. He is gone. I am coming after you, KB, in this Florida State football program.
You're somehow scarier than our offense.
I am the Reaper. I am the Reaper.
What the?
Yeah, I am the Reaper.
I don't know.
This is not funny.
I don't know where you get this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, KB. Hey, you stay tuned. Fans out there, I'm going to say this a couple times. You stay tuned because, you know what? There's going to be another person come in here and take the old man's place, too. There's another one coming later in the show. So don't you go anywhere here on Halloween 2024. Yeah.
Once again, I don't know what the hell is going on, but thank you guys for joining us. Thanks.
Yeah.
Good to see you, James. Everyone else out there. We got a lot to go through tonight. We're talking the UNC Florida State game. We're trying to avoid some scary history being made on Saturday with Mack Brown and what he's trying to accomplish in beating FSU. Him being an alumni, trying to beat FSU, break his curse against Florida State this Saturday in his first ever win. So we'll go into that. Obviously,
what the hell are you, KB? Are you Ric Flair, the Golden Boy? Or are you a cross-dresser? Which one is it? I don't know.
I'm just here.
Okay. Let our viewers chime in and tell us who they think
I'm Mack Brown's old roommate at FSU.
There you go.
That's what I am.
1972-73, Mack Brown was running the football for the Florida State Seminoles under the coaching of Larry Jones. And in 73, he experienced what Mike Norvell has well, not quite as bad, but he will tell Mike Norvell as they get together at practice and before the game, when they're warming up, he'll say, I've been there, Mike. And now I'm there too, Mike. They want to get rid of my ass. There's two of us here on Saturday. They're trying to get rid of our ass. But we got buyouts, Mike. We got a life insurance policy in our back pocket.
Well, yes, Mack can walk away whenever he wants to. He's done his work. He's put together a great career. Mike Norvell's just starting, so they're in two different stages of their life. But we'll go into that, and we'll discuss that. Before that, though, I just want to get your thoughts on anything else going around FSU football. Obviously, big game on Saturday. Well, big game in terms of how you define it. We'll go through. We can go through the game. But I really want to talk about, in terms of the game, what we're looking for in terms of growth, what our goals are for the game. The goal is obviously to try to win the game, but that's been hard to come by. But there's going to be goals in my mind that I want to see out of this football team. And so we'll discuss those things. I'm sure you have a couple. I have a couple. And we'll go through that. Florida State men's basketball is getting underway, so that is kind of exciting. Those games will start up. Tomorrow starts November, and we know with November comes college basketball. And we talk about coaches on the ropes. Leonard Hamilton is certainly on the hot seat. I believe this is the final year of his contract. So this will be a make-or-break year for him, as many have called for his departure from the program. It's a big year for many Florida State coaches, in the power sports, right? Including Leonard Hamilton. So they just blew out, I believe it was UWF, West Florida tonight.
They're a top 10 team, I'm sure.
Last night they beat West Florida 100-56 in their final exhibition game. So once again, these exhibitions are meaningless. What really counts is when the November schedule starts. But I want to get before we, like I said, we get into football, let's talk about some general stuff going around FSU. Let's talk about your impression of maybe if you saw some of the exhibitions. What is your thinking about what does this season mean for Leonard Hamilton? Do you think he's already on his way out? Do you think he retires regardless of what happens at the end of the season? I don't think FSU is going to extend him. Even if they win 20, 23 games and get an at-large berth, because I don't think this team is better than an at-large berth maybe in the tournament. I don't expect there to be any miracle making on this team. But what are your expectations for Leonard Hamilton, and what are your expectations for Alford in holding him accountable this year, because we have not seen that accountability the last couple of years?
Well, first of all, this will be Leonard Hamilton's last season as head coach of the Seminoles basketball, because obviously if you haven't received an extension on your contract by now, that's not a good sign. Okay, that's not a good sign. So the only way he could salvage or get an extension is potentially he would win the national championship, which is not going to happen, or he makes it deep into the tournament somehow and get some consideration that way. Otherwise, he is gone. They'll be lucky to be a 500 team in the ACC this year, in my opinion. This team has been cobbled together, and yes, they're going to beat some of these weak sisters up front in what are basically exhibition games to see if his team can start to mesh together. But there's not a lot of new looks on this basketball team. Yeah. They've got who's the returning superstar? I can't remember. Watkins, right?
Yeah. Watkins is the
Watkins. He's the superstar. So he's going to get his looks, and he's going to take advantage of those looks because he's going to the league in the draft at the end of the season, and he wants to. Without Watkins getting into double figures each and every game, and probably a double-double in terms of rebounds and points, this team has really no hopes of beating too many conference foes. They're going to beat some of these other teams that are on the schedule, the warm-up games, but it'll be a rough sledding when they get in the ACC, in my opinion. Now, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm totally wrong. I hope I'm not being totally disrespectful. But, first of all, the Florida State press office, the sports information, they don't put out much. So I haven't seen a lot of hype as we did about the football team. So I'll be surprised if they finish more than 500. I think that would be a very good season if they do. And maybe they get an invite to the NIT if they could wrangle that out of it. So,
even like you said, that's even a stretch goal the way I see this team. This team brought in a lot of players. This is going to be a very young team. You brought in 8 players, right? And you can see the stats for yourself. 12th in the ACC, national rank 54th. This was not a strong class, and that's based on your record the last couple of years, right? Like when you continually fail to meet expectations or to exceed them and develop players, you're going to struggle to recruit. Now you got Daquan Davis, who's a freshman, 4-star guy. You would hope to get something, unlike football, you can get, you could get upside out of the guys that come right away, and he comes from Overtime Elite, which is a powerhouse. A shout out to AJ Swinton. He plays in the WCAC in DC, and there's potentially big, that's tough college basketball or tough high school basketball, so there could be some upside for him. But this wasn't a class filled with 5-star recruits, right, or even high 4-stars. You got a couple of guys that maybe could to make an instant impact. But you look here, even your transfers, you're hoping to fill guys in positions, and these are 8 total new players in our team. And you mentioned the guy that has to really step up this season is Watkins, and he'll be gone. He's a senior next year, and he averaged 15 points per game last year. So this is a team that's going to be trying to figure out what their identity is. Leonard Hamilton's got his big guys in the middle. You got your 7-footers,
guys who normally don't score much.
Yeah, it's going to be tough sledding. We know that, and then they'll be rebuilt. It'll be who is going to be the coach that can. And I don't want to take away from everything Leonard Hamilton's done. He made this program relevant.
Yes,
again.
he did.
And that's what we're going to be chasing. We're going to be chasing that feeling of what Leonard Hamilton built for us all the way up to essentially the COVID year. Because during that COVID year, it looked like they could be a national championship team. And then after that, NIL came.
Yeah.
And it just kind of fell apart from there, which is sad.
You know, one thing about this program, KB, and you summarized it pretty well there, is when I think of FSU basketball, and again, I go way back. This demon goes way, way back into the 60s. And obviously, I was in attendance there in the early 70s. There's two coaches in basketball who you think of. So you know Leonard Hamilton. Who else do you think of as another noteworthy basketball coach at FSU? You probably don't know of one, right? No. You know who it is? Who really put FSU basketball on the map was a guy named Hugh Durham. And he had the great Cowens under him, and Cowens was the guy who went on to star for the Boston Celtics. Okay, and those teams in 1972 under Hugh Durham, and I was there. They went on to the national championship. They were the only FSU team to make it to the final two. And who did they play? They played UCLA with the great Lou Alcindor, who is Jabbar, right? For the Lakers. And we almost won that game. It was a under 10-point loss. But that was probably the greatest team that this Florida State program has ever had. So I think of Hugh Durham, and I think of Coach Hamilton. So, and it's no disrespect to Coach Hamilton, but it's time.
Yeah,
time, and he should go out. I hope he has a great season and he goes out on top.
You said, it's no disrespect to him. It's just his time, and he's built a legacy at Florida State that he'll be one of, if not the greatest coach that Florida State's ever had. And the future is how can we rebuild that legacy again and get back to where we believe we should be as a program.
Exactly, because we're going to be going through two rebuilds, and to the two most prominent sports programs here at Florida State, and that's basketball and football. And now, as we swing into football, and we talk about this UNC game, right? We talk about this UNC game, and what is the possibility of Florida State winning this game? And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make my prediction right now, and I'll tell you why.
Then we get to shut off the show. You already get your prediction.
No.
Shut off the show.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it when that other guy comes in here on Halloween tonight. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Let's not give our prediction. Let's build some anticipation.
Okay.
But like you said, I think this is going to be the last. Well, outside of the. I call him Charleston. Is it Charleston Southern or Georgia Southern? I can't remember.
Charleston Southern, man.
Okay, I can never remember.
Charleston Southern.
Because once again, we shouldn't have to worry about them, but I'm still worried about them.
Right.
But outside of that game, this will be the most winnable game on your schedule. You could say Florida because
No, that's not. How could anybody say that's a winnable?
But I don't think it's not winnable. I don't think is an elite team, but it's definitely going to be tough.
Right.
But Charleston Southern's 1-7, so but once again, we're 1-7. You can't knock anyone off right now.
Well, the good news is we get UNC, Charleston Southern, and Florida all at home. Okay.
I don't think it really matters where we play at this point because the offense.
Well, I think the
crowd has been good. You're right. The crowd
is
good. Yeah, you're right. The crowd's good, but this is the football we've seen is unprecedented across the history of college football. And so, like you said, home field advantage is always nice, but it may help the defense. Like you said, the defenses play well at times, and that probably helps them. But going against UNC, they're 4-4. They're struggling. Mack Brown, like you said, is battling for his job and trying to stave off his naysayers. They've lost 4 out of the last 5 games. Their last one coming last week against UVA, 41-14.
James Madison put up 70 points on them.
Yeah, so
beat them 70-50. 120 points were scored in that football.
And now I hate when people say, "Well, if James Madison can do it, why can't we?" Well, college football is very week to week, right? Some teams will look like garbage one week, and then they'll go on to beat
James
Alabama.
Madison's done pretty well this year.
Yeah.
Losing their head coach and a lot of their key players and some of their coaches, they rebuild real quick.
Yeah. So this is by no means going to be obviously it's not going to be a cakewalk. Nothing's a cakewalk for Florida State this year. But this is a game that you should be able to battle in. But I think the big thing for Florida State, obviously, is can you stop the rushing attack? UNC is going to want to run the ball. Ryan Hampton is a really, really great player. And if you look at the passing numbers, they want to establish a balanced attack with Criswell and Hampton. And it's going to be, once again, up to this defense to see how long can they hold UNC off the board to allow this offense to get going. We have not at all this season, outside of a couple of drives, maybe one against Georgia Tech to open the game, one here and there across the board where this offense looked like it was in tune. The best drive of the season, I think, is the first drive against Georgia Tech, to kick off the year. When they drove down the field, they're fast, they're quick, they're pushing it. We haven't seen that, and we haven't seen the ability for this offense basically play off of the defense. The defense gets a stop, and then the offense goes on and scores off of it. So it's really going to, once again, be on this defensive line. Can they hold their blocks? Can they cause chaos? Can they stop the run game of Marion Hampton? Can they reduce them to to making tough throws, tough catches, and then allow this offense to warm up and get going and establish something on the ground? Because if Florida State's offense only scores 12 points, 14 points again, I don't see you winning this game. I don't see,
they're
exactly.
going to lose.
Because look at UNC and what they've put up. They put up at least 20 plus points, in every single game this season. And the games they've lost is when they've struggled to, put up 21 plus. So I see this as a game where you have to go in expecting to score your highest of the season. You're going to have to score 21 plus. You're going to have to hit that milestone.
Yeah.
To be able to beat UNC and come away with your second win this season. That has to be on the bulletin board. As sad as that is to say, that has to be on the bulletin board to say it's up to us to hit 21. Because if we do that, we should believe that our defense can do its job like they have done for many times this season. Up until the fourth quarter against Miami, keeping that high-octane offense contained for most of that game until it just kind of collapsed there. So that's the bulletin board thing. Get us to 21 and let the defense do the rest.
I think everything you've said is pretty accurate right there. That it's going to be an interesting game up front. Is Farmer and Richard there? Are they and the linebackers and our defensive ends, are they capable of stopping UNC's rushing game, which is averaging 190 yards per game? Now, I am not totally blown away by the wins they have. Their schedule hasn't been super tough. So they're not like beating the hell out of people. However, their offensive stats is the strength of their football team, and they're doing it with what I think is a second or third string quarterback. Okay, the other guys got hurt, and so
Max Johnson got knocked out.
If
Connor
this
Harrell,
third string quarterback they have, if he can manage the game, not turn the ball over, not make mistakes, and they control the football. They show the ability to put points on the board. I mean, they do show that ability that, Florida State can't just get 3 and outs on our offense. If we do, or turn the ball over and give them easy scoring opportunities, it could be a long and very warm afternoon with a 3:30 kickoff at the Doak. Because right now, still nationally, our offense, total offenses, we're ranked 131 out of 133. And third down efficiency, which is huge in football. Third down efficiency, we're running at 26%, ranked 131 again. On passing offense, okay, we get 192 yards, which isn't bad. We're ranked 101, but only getting 7 touchdowns. That shows that passing game is not working well. And our rushing game is even worse. We're ranked 130th with 80 yards per game, 2.81 yards per carry. These are numbers that if you just looked at the numbers, didn't know the record, you'd say, You're well below 500, and you've probably won 1 to 3 games. And we're sitting at 1-7. It is what we are, and these numbers tell you what you are. It's a portrait of what's gone on this season.
Yep. And and this is another thing, talking about UNC's offense, like you said, that's the strength of their team. They're down to Jacoby Criswell, who has an interesting story in himself. He started his first 3 years at North Carolina, then transferred to Arkansas, and now he's back at North Carolina, which is a funny story. And now he's starting, right? He's in that position as a senior. I think the interesting part for him is that he does add an element to the offense a little bit. And I think Max Johnson had a little bit of this too, is that he is able to use his legs too. And that's something that, once again, Florida State has sometimes struggled with. I think they did, Cam Ward's not, he doesn't want to be super mobile. He looks down the field most of the time, but this is something that previously times earlier in the year, they have struggled with some mobile quarterbacks. And so this is something that this defense will have to be aware of, that Criswell is able to use his legs. And that's something that I think has given other defenses UNC's played against struggles in the past as well. The other thing that Florida State needs to look out for, and I think this defense, it'll be up to those linebackers too, to can they step in play. And I think the linebackers are coming along. I think I've seen some development, especially in the who was it? Played really. Omar Graham, I think, has started playing.
He's got to be the number one linebacker on this football team right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go that far yet, but I think he's definitely come along, and he's starting to make plays. You can see the plays being made every game. He's making a couple plays here and there, and he's come a long way. So I'm excited to see guys like that, to see if he can continue to make plays like that, because we're going to need to – those are building blocks for your team next year, right? And so can guys like that make big plays in the hole against Omarion Hampton and stopping big plays from happening on the field come Saturday? And so that'll be interesting to see. Now, the big thing, too, is that with their quarterback, UNC, Criswell, he doesn't have a ton of experience, too. So I think I would expect Fuller to dial up a lot of pressure again.
Exactly. And if he gets knocked out of the game, what happens then?
Okay. Well, that's a long scenario. I think what you have to, but the only way you can bring pressure like that is if you can successfully stop the run. I'm not gonna dream up some dream scenario where he gets knocked out.
Right.
It's can we stop the run to set the blitz packages to get them at 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, to force them to have to show off.
Well, here's the problem. We're ranked 105. Again, out of 133 on rushing defense. We're giving up 179 yards per game, and they're averaging 190. And we're giving up 11 rushing touchdowns, 4.4 yards per carry. And that's where the game, like you say, I think, is going to be won or lost in the trenches right there. Can our front seven control and take away their rush or limit it, no explosive plays, and force them into throwing the football? Because I like our odds. I like our odds in the defensive secondary with the guys I've seen this season that we have back there. I like our odds against this inexperienced quarterback.
But where this defense has struggled, I think, the most is stopping the rush. I mean, how many times have we been lit up for 200 plus rushing yards, 200 plus rushing yards? That is where I think they bend, but they don't break. But they give up some of these big plays, especially on 3rd down, some big runs, and then those runs add up. I mean, you look against Clemson, you look against Miami last week. Sorry. I mean, you effectively shut down their biggest weapon at receiver. But the issue is that, I mean, did Restrepo, he was shut down for 24 yards. And he's there, once again, he was going to be trying to break the record to become the number 1 receiver in Miami history. He only had 24 yards. But you let Damian Martinez go wild. You let him have 150 yards and 230 total for Miami rushing. I mean, you got to be able to effectively do both. And this is where we need to see Patrick Payton, contribute more on the line and helping with contain if they bounce outside. This is where we need to see Dale Jackson and the guys behind him step up on those big plays. And the linebackers have to contribute to that. And that's where sometimes I think the linebackers have been out of position and closing up those holes. But if the defense wants to step up and they want to make an impact even more, it's got to be in the rushing game, because that is where we keep getting gashed, and that's what UNC has been struggling is. Oh, this is a rushing defense that struggles with stopping the run. We got a great running back. Let's lean into that and try to exploit them every way they can, because I guarantee they're going to be looking to try to establish the run early against Florida State. Fuller's going to have to.
Hey, I just wanted to stop by for a minute, and I was picking up some garbage. And I just wanted to say hello to everybody. The old man, I pushed him outside. And, hey, listen, I just wanted to stop by. And, the garbage thing, I don't know. I got a little irritated by that. But, I got my safety vest on, sometimes you get garbage dumped on you, and you gotta take over. You gotta do that. So, push the old man aside. I'll be taking the rest of the show here with you, KB. Nice meeting you.
I don't even know what's going on right now, but yeah, okay, but yeah, that is my thing. But stop the run and then force Criswell to throw the ball, because you look, he's completing only 57% of the passes. Once again, against not the toughest of competition. Not to say, but I would trust our defensive backs against his passing ability. So make him have to test our defensive backs and make those guys have to stand up. Because I trust our defensive backs going one-on-one against their UNC receivers, and make this guy have to make the tough plays. Make him have to go one-on-one receivers. But first, we have to establish the run defense and shutting down Hampton early and forcing him to.
I think this is going to be an interesting game to watch. I really do. And I'll be honest with you. Yeah, you play games to win. No doubt, right? Every game you play to win. Yeah. However, the biggest thing in this game is player development. And who is going to be on this football team next year for the 2025 run. And as you said, it's going to be important to how is Mike and the staff going to employ these players, especially the quarterbacks, because any rebuild, which this is the rebuild, is he's lucky now. He's actually kind of lucky. He's got 4 games to figure out and give these guys reps, and then have to make some decisions of, can I find one guy here to go with, or am I going to have to go into the portal? I mean, let's not say anybody who says he's not thinking he might have to go to the portal, they don't know football coaching.
I don't know who's saying that. But.
Well, I think there are a number of people who are saying it out there.
That Florida State has to have to go to the portal?
That are saying he could go to the portal. You can't, no head football coach who's the sixth highest paid in the country is going to go into another season thinking I'm not sure what I got a quarterback. He's going to know by the time he's done in December. Okay, I think he'd have to go by the time he's done in, before it gets to spring, because he'd want the guy in, that they may have to do that. And that will be the final decision of him and the staff. And we'll talk a little bit, my feelings on that a little bit later. But how do you think these two quarterbacks are going to get played?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think someone posted that if they want to, this was interesting. Someone posted the other day, I don't think I bookmarked it, but someone said that Luke can play 2 of the last 4 games and keep his red shirt. And I said, who gives a shit about his red shirt?
Yeah, the red shirt thing is...
That, at this point, if you think he's going to be a star, then he's not going to use all his 4 years anyway. So play him if you think he's the right guy. Also, he may not be here next year with you, so play him now. And try to convince him, because you just sit his ass. I mean, then I think he's probably gone then. Either way, I think either way you have to play him, because worrying about red shirts in the age of NIL and the age of like NCAA, there's every loophole in the book to get another year. There's not many kids who stay 4 or 5 years anymore, unless they're not really that elite. And now more players are staying back now because of NIL. That's one reason they stay back longer. And if that's the case, great, then that. But for a kid that's a true freshman that you are already playing, and you're evaluating to see, is this my quarterback for next year? You can't worry about 2 games, 3 games, 4. You have to just game plan them in. If that's what truly Mike's worried about, once again, he's overthinking it.
I don't even say, I don't believe that's even the case of what he's thinking. Okay? He's not worried about who he's going to redshirt. He's trying to find football players who can turn this program around. And the real question is, what does he, how many games does he have to win? And we don't need to get into that. What is a turnaround? 5-7 or 7-5? Is that good enough?
I think no. I mean,
so this is why I say this redshirt thing, that's all a bunch of just nothing.
No.
What is something is playing these quarterbacks as much as he needs to see them to understand, does one of them have the potential to lead this football program in 2025, or do I have to go into the portal and try to go get another quarterback? I mean, that's really realistic. I mean, that's the way I'd be thinking. You can't go into spring and then fall and, we're still not sure. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You got to know going into spring practice, this is my number one guy. Whether it's Luke, whether it's Brock, whether it's some guy out of the portal.
Well, and this is the kind of shit that kind of bugs me, though, when we're talking about...
Well, it's realistic.
No, not what you said. It's posts like this that say... Let's see if they can catch him or if he can run the first down. Give Trevor Jackson an opportunity. This guy's a walk-on. So now we're going to throw a third quarterback in the mix.
No, but wait a minute.
This guy didn't play a lot in high school. Like, you have to look at his high school stat. Like, this guy was brought in as a walk-on. And are you saying that people are saying now let's give Trevor a chance? Are we saying we should play 3 quarterbacks on Saturday?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Like, at some point, it's kind of madness. You're not giving any of these guys a chance to play.
No.
I'd rather just play
right.
Trevor Jackson the entire game. It's stupid to rotate many guys.
Listen. No, let's be real here, okay? Let's just be real. We're not doing this 24/7, pumping out content every day. But I enjoy the reality of the process. Trevor Jackson, which I don't know a lot about Trevor Jackson. I don't know what he did in high school. And just to throw him in there, first of all, Mike Norvell would realistically have to believe from him and his staff that this guy should get an opportunity. Not because he's a nice guy, not because he's been a star of the scout team. It's, can this guy lead this team in 25? If the answer is no, we don't believe it, we don't think the odds are there, you're not going to spend time on reps in games with Trevor. Period. Okay? Your reps are going to be divided between Luke and Brock. You're trying to figure that out. Is it one of these guys, or do I have to look elsewhere? That's the reality. That's the reality. I know you don't think, we don't need to go back in the portal. Well, KB, the reality is you can't go into 25 and have the same dismal result. Like maybe you win 3 or 4 games, 5 games.
Well,
what does it take to satisfy the beast? What is it going to take in 25?
An offensive line. I don't.
No. How many wins? No, just wins. How many wins?
9, 8 or 9.
Wow.
Because look at all the other programs who were garbage last year who have rebuilt and done it. It's no longer.
Do we believe a guy like Trevor Jackson, who hasn't played it down here, basically, is he the guy in 25? No.
Well, that's what people are arguing. They're saying play him last 4 games, see what you got. What you got to lose.
No, that's. You know what you have to lose? You have to lose. I'm trying to, and this is no disrespect to Trevor Jackson. I hope he goes somewhere and gets a starting job. I really do.
But why not here, they're saying? Why not here? You brought him in. When does he get a chance to play?
He's probably not going to get a chance to play.
Then why
he's probably not going to get a chance to play. But
But you always talk about we can't have guys that don't have reps, and you can't have a room with guys that don't have reps. Well, you are in the perfect position to give guys reps because we suck. I mean, we have.
Well, why don't we play McNamara? He's a backup quarterback too.
That's what I'm saying. Why not?
Because you don't have enough reps. You don't have enough reps. That's the reality of it.
So how would you rep out on Saturday?
Unless Trevor Jackson.
How do you rep it out on Saturday? How would you wrap
Yeah,
it up?
I'm not so concerned about winning the game, but here's what I do. I'd probably start Luke because I think Luke has the higher ceiling, the higher potential here. I would start Luke, and if he's moving the football team, I don't have a plan in my mind where Norvell says, well, the third series. No, if Luke in the first 3 possessions gets him down there and we get points, touchdowns or field goals, and the offense seems to be moving in some rhythm, I keep him in. If he has a turnover, I probably give him another possession. I don't want him to lose his confidence. But at some point, okay, you've had 5 or the first half. You've had the entire first half. Then, Brock, you got the second half, unless you're not moving the football team. Okay. Yeah, that's why the guy gets paid $10 million to figure it out. But these are the 2 guys that he's trying to choose of, and then you have the unknown in the portal. Yeah. Well, that's right. It's simple. It's really that simple.
It seems not to be, because last week, like I keep mentioning, is the whole pulling out of Brock after 2 possessions, but then Luke.
Okay, but that's on Norvell.
And then putting him back in at the end during garbage time. Yeah. But like I said, you said it seems simple, but apparently it's not, because it seems like some formula of like. I can't tell what the criteria is. I can't tell what the criteria is.
No, that's just the coach, because nobody knows the criteria. We're definitely not going to know. The guys who have access don't know because they won't ask. They're afraid to ask. But what I'm saying, in the process, just the process, whether he makes the right decision or the wrong decision, he's in an evaluation process of the quarterback room, including the 4 guys that are in there. There's only 4, right? Trevor Jackson, McNamara, and Luke and Brock, right? It's only 4.
Yeah. And DJ, I don't know what DJ's injury status.
DJ, you know what? I saw a practice tape. I thought I didn't see the cast on anymore. Maybe that was.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know what his status is.
No, he's not going to play anymore. He's done.
I don't think. Yeah,
he's done. But has anybody asked Norvell that? Well, see, we're not allowed to ask questions about injuries. That's a team policy. You know what? If I was the guys with access sometimes, you know what? I feel like there's a monkey on my back. I feel like there's a chain on my back that I can't move. I can't do anything without making sure the sports information people at Florida State approve of it. The hell with that. What are you getting out of those practices? I see the stuff you're putting out. It's boring. I'd rather have the freedom to write and to gain sources and to write what I really believe is going on and investigate. That stuff is worth paying for. The stuff that's coming out now, I mean, you're like under a leash of Norvell because we're afraid to ask him anything. But in my mind, Norvell has no reason to play DJU. He is not the future of this program. So just because the old saying, you never lose your job because of an injury, well, in this case, you do. Okay? So bottom line, he's got Luke and Brock, and he has to decide over the next series of weeks of which, is it going to be one of them, or is it going to have to go to the portal? They're going to the portal on a bunch of other players. You know that, right?
Well, to talk about that,
and then you have the attrition of your current players. You know, this is a really complex fluid as we go through the next several weeks here.
Yeah, and we can lean into that more later. But I think just keys to look at the game. I want to see from the offense. I need to see players that we've been expecting to step up, and that includes guys like Hakeem Williams. That guy looks lost. He looks like he's not engaged. This is our 4-star, high 4-star, 5-star receiver, year 2. He just doesn't look like the player we thought he would be, and people hyped him up to be.
Do you think he's checked out?
I can't say that.
Well, do you think he possibly? No. Well, it is fair to say. I mean, do you think certain guys on this team might be checking out or protecting themselves.
I don't think they would be on the field if they were checked out.
I agree.
I agree. They would be on the field. But
I agree.
The numbers, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. You can look at where he ranks among 402 receivers. He's in the bottom third in every kind of.
But remember,
category.
we used to say how good a downfield blocker he was. He was a blocker on the edges on some of those sideline screens, which everybody hates. He's caught the ball. I mean, how many times has he dropped the ball that he's been targeted?
There was that awful one last week.
I'm not sure.
There was this play last weekend where it was thrown up, and it just goes through his like.
No, wait a minute. He mistimed it. He mistimed
but
his jump.
I
understand.
Big time playmakers are able to make he
should have kept the route going. He cut the route off a little bit.
I don't know. Like some guys just look.
But that's one play.
No, he's had 2 seasons and there's been no plays, and that's what I'm saying.
He was
look
hurt.
at a guy like Keon Coleman.
Wasn't he hurt the first season?
No, I don't care. He's been healthy this season. Nothing.
Okay.
And you compare him to a guy like Keon Coleman.
Who's
just a guy, and people say, "Well, he's getting coached by Ron Dugans. That's the problem." I'm like, Keon Coleman can work in any system. That guy could be put in. He worked at Michigan State. He worked at Florida State. You knew certain guys just work around.
By the way,
doesn't matter who coaches them.
You make a
certain
good
guys
point.
Are stars, and they will be stars no matter what school they go to, no matter what staff you put them, no matter what system. You had guys like Calvin Johnson at Georgia Tech. You had Larry Fitzgerald at Pitt.
You got that freshman at Ohio State from Florida.
Okay, but that's different. That's
why?
Totally,
no, you just said
because Ohio State has a better staff. Ohio State has a better
he's a
staff.
freshman. The guy was a superstar
but that's what
as
I'm
a high school player, so he's an elite player.
But I'm saying people are making excuses for Hakeem because of coaching staff and stuff like that. Certain guys are stars. Certain guys are going to make plays regardless of who's around them, and that's what I haven't seen in guys like Hakeem and others.
And Julio Mella, we've hugged and kissed everybody.
At a certain point, guys need to step up or get out or give room for other guys to make opportunities. Because this is year 2 for him. I haven't seen it yet. Once again, I put the ratings up there of what he was. A 5-star guy, 4th rated receiver in the country, and I just haven't seen it. I want to see it. We need a guy like this to step up because no one else is stepping up, and you thought in this year he would break out, and it just hasn't happened. I know the offense has been shitty, but guys make plays. We even see Ja'Kai Douglas making plays every so often, and he's not dropping the ball. He's getting open when
Ja'Kai is your best receiver on this team, then your wide receiver room is weak.
But there seems to be no leadership in the offense. There just seems to be no guys breaking out, and you would think that your top rated receiver that you've recruited in the last 3 or 4 years would be that guy. And
here's the deal. Here's the deal, KB. Malik Benson won't be on this team next year. Kentron will be gone. Let's see, who else will be gone? Williamson will be gone.
Ja'Kai Douglas will be gone.
Ja'Kai will be gone. So, this is going to be a super lot of inexperience, and you almost need to keep Hakeem Williams to see if he can. We don't know. I don't know what he's grading out. I don't know how many times.
I just showed you.
Can you pull up the number of targets he has? Do you have the targeted and how many balls he's caught and how many he's dropped? I mean, there's a stat out there like that. I don't know where the hell it is, but it's out there.
Let me pay for those. He's 4th on the team in receptions for 120 yards. 12 receptions, 120 yards. I don't see the amount. He played in 6 games so far.
You see drops, targets and drops. They don't have that. Okay.
Yeah.
What you're saying is he's been disappointing like a lot of other players. It's not just Hakeem Williams.
But he's one of the highest rated guys we've ever signed in the Mike Norvell era. That's why I'm disappointed.
You're Mike Norvell and staff and Ron Dugans. You guys sit down and you say, okay, should we encourage him to leave? Where are you going to get all these wide receivers to bring in?
No, I brought this up in the offseason. I said, looking at this roster, and they brought in Jaylen Brown, who was untested, a highly rated high school guy they liked from LSU. But once again, the guy hadn't done anything.
Didn't play.
And they liked him. Malik Benson, same kind of category.
Nothing.
He had 200 or 300 yards at Alabama, brought him in. You were building a room around guys who hadn't done it, who hadn't established
We said that. We all said that.
Keon Coleman came in and he had done it before. You brought in Jaheim Bell. He had done it before. And they did it the wrong way because all the guys in the room, there was no leader. There was no
There's
guy
no leader on
who
this
had
team.
stepped up.
Yeah, there's no
And
leader on
instead
this
of
team.
going out and getting the guys I had mentioned before, some of these guys, there were some guys at smaller schools that had like 1,000 yards, 900 yards. They didn't go and get those veteran guys who consistently caught the ball, made big plays. They may have not done it at the SEC level, but you're not going to get those guys out of the port. Those guys aren't going to always be available. They didn't get guys that had yardage. They got potential, and now they're seeing that potential doesn't always pay off if you, especially if you don't put them in the right scenario. So that's where they made the mistake. I said they should have got gone after the guys who had the numbers and put them around a new quarterback, because you brought in a new quarterback with an average line and put average receivers who had no receptions around him, and that was a formula for disaster. I said they cannot do that again.
Let's go back because I like this discussion, and right now my whole thing is about the rebuild and the process of this rebuild. And you've brought up, and we just discussed for the last few minutes, that's another area, this wide receiver room. How is that going to be handled during a rebuild? First of all, the rebuild is, are you going to keep Dugans or not? I mean, this is why, KB, I'm preaching. Wait a minute. Why I'm preaching that at some point, and you can't just keep stringing this thing out, is you've got to make moves on the chessboard of these coaches. Nobody likes it. Nobody likes it of letting people go or telling people they're fired or encouraging them to leave. But this is the rebuild, and you have to do that, because when we look at this room of the wide receivers, and even at tight end, the guys are going to catch this football. Oh man, it's like you can see the amount of changes and probably going into the portal that you're going to have to make to bring in a couple of elite guys. Okay, we won't get into the process of who's going to pay, how much is going to be paid, and so on. But who do you see on that wide receiver room that is NFL like material?
No one.
No one.
No one.
Which is scary. Which tells you, how do you expect to win 8 or 9 games then?
Exactly. I mean, you sent 2 guys to the NFL last year from the receiver room, from Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman, and you have none this year. I mean, no one. I mean, definitely not this year. Nobody's has put up anything, and no one in there. No one from this. Yeah, no one on this stat, whether it's receiver, tight end, O-line, anyone on this offense right now is an NFL player in my eyes.
So we've got 2 areas already. We haven't even gone through this, but the wide receiver room and the O-line, which we talked a lot about on the last show. There's 2 areas that you talk about massive rebuild. It's incredible. When you go to the offensive line, which is horrible now with experienced guys, who's going to be left there? You've got, I don't know. I don't want to go through all the names tonight, but
no.
I don't know how people are going to expect, and tell me if you think I'm wrong, expect 8 or 9 wins. Now, here's what I'm hearing. This is where it's starting to. Some of the social media sites are playing good cop, bad cop. They've got where they have multiple hosts. One guy will be the bad cop. This sucks. Get rid of Mike. Fire Atkins. Do all that, and then you got the good cops. Well, these things can be turned around pretty quickly, and they give examples like Pittsburgh. Where the coach there fired almost the entire offensive side of the ball, ran off a bunch of players, and they're now sitting at near the top of the ACC, undefeated, right?
It's not.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean.
So what I'm saying is you've got 2 sides to this argument. Yeah, Narduzzi has done a great job in a quick turnaround. So you've got some people say, oh, we don't have to flush everything. We can just turn it around. I'm not on that ship.
No.
Okay. Now,
Pittsburgh also has played one of the softest schedules so far.
Of course. But that's not to rip on Pittsburgh or rip on Narduzzi. Narduzzi's been around a long time, So they're winning football games. They are what their record says they are. Yeah. So, and luckily, we don't play them. So in this regard, when we look at this lineup, which we'll do that on another show and really look at it, it's a little scary of what this roster is going to look like going into 2025. Now, why I'm on a little bit of a rant here, I want to talk a little bit more about the rebuild. Okay, I've done a little bit of work on this. So let's start. When you do a rebuild, you start from the top down. From the top down. So whoever wins this football game on Saturday is really not that important to me. I'm not going to be like, oh, shit, we lost another one. We're 1-8. It's really about player evaluation and development. Those two keys. Now, I want this rebuild to look like an NFL model. And the first level of that NFL model is really about ownership. Who are the owners? And let's see if you agree with me. In the NFL, you have an owner. That guy is ultimately responsible. Jerry Jones, whatever. Okay? But he has other parts in the mix. The owners of the Florida State football program are as follows. The Board of Trustees, okay? They ultimately have a lot to say, and that's why Alford comes to them and Norvell had to brief them. They are the big guy, the big dog that really has the ownership of the Florida State program in my terms, okay? Now, if people want to challenge me on that, fine. The chairman there, Peter Collins, this is the guys that own this program. Now, the next part of the ownership team is big donors. Big donors. Six-figure donors. I'm putting six figures on there. Could be some high five-figure guys, but six-figure big donors. Those are part of the ownership of this football program. And then thirdly are the fans. The fans have a stake and a share in the ownership because they come to the games, they cheer on the team, and they spend a lot of their hard-earned money, which is getting harder and harder every day across this country. All right? Now, so the fans can vote with their feet and they can vote with their dollars about a football team. And that's in attendance and what they're buying and not buying and what they give to NIL, which probably doesn't make up as big as amount as the big donors. So in terms of the ownership model, do you disagree with me or add anything to that?
No.
Do you see my concept though?
But it's I can't. You keep talking about something that's not going to
See,
happen.
you're still down in the bushes, I think, KB, about wins and losses. I think you're ultimately
You're talking about fairy tale scenarios.
But
I'm talking about reality.
You know, years ago there was a coach with the Washington Redskins. Okay,
Can't say
and his
that
name.
anymore.
Yeah, well, I can say it. Okay. And his name was that George Allen? Okay, he was the son of a famous other NFL guy, and he said, you know what? We're going to mortgage the future. We're going to mortgage the future, and we're going to win today. And they traded all their draft choices off, brought all these veterans in to try to win now. That's what they call the win now philosophy. And that's been done in baseball. That's been done in a lot of sports. Win now. The ownership here, they should ask for Mike Alford to come forward with his football coach, who is Mike Norvell, and brief them on what is the plan moving forward. Is this a win now scenario for 2025? Or is this, we're going to build this right now because we're going to get out of this ACC and we're going to build this right for the next 5 to 10 year plan? These are the choices that have to be made that are so much more important than who wins this football game on Saturday. It really is. This will be I think it'll be a competitive football game. I really do. But do you understand my points?
Yeah. Yeah.
So these are the choices that have to be made. Like Norvell has to choose a quarterback. But the ownership of this football program, they must choose the direction. Is it going to win now, or is it going to be, we're going to build this thing right? Okay. And it's going to take some time to build this right. And you know what, Coach? We don't like your plan. Or we need you to do this. Because they actually control whether he stays or he doesn't. That's the owners. All right? Now, let me go to two more levels, and that's it.
Dude,
no.
I can't listen to two.
Okay, all right. Well, then I'll save that. I'll save that for another time because you're so down in the weeds. This stuff, maybe sometime if you don't want, I don't understand why you don't want to talk about this.
Because it's not real. I'm not talking.
It's not real. You don't think other programs, the best programs, the top 20 programs in this country, if we don't do this type of structure, we're going to be in big problems for years to come. So you have to suck down and take a big bite of the shit sandwich. You ever hear that? If you're given a shit sandwich, don't take nibbles. Take big bites and swallow it as quickly as possible. So we don't have to agree on.
This is going all over the place.
No, it isn't. We're trying to figure out how to win football games, but are you trying to win just for next year, or are you trying to win for the next 5-10 years and get this on a championship program level? That's the decision that has to be made, and I don't think you see it that way. That's okay. We don't have to agree on everything.
I think you're making it complex. It's
not complex.
There's some schools that know how to run it the right way.
Okay. Well, what are they doing right and we're not doing right?
They're identifying the right players for their program.
Okay.
And they're
year in and year out.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
and who do you think's making those calls and over that? You think just the head coach, he just does whatever the hell he wants to do?
No.
It doesn't work that way.
But it's their staff. It's having the right staff to identify the right players in the right places, good evaluations, then in conjunction with throwing the right money at them, the right packages.
Okay.
And it's a full thing. Having the right facilities. It's an entire thing. It's an organization.
Okay, but there's a process. You just said it. There's an organization. That's what I'm trying to point out here.
Like this.
I'm trying to point this out.
Isn't set up.
No, it's not. You know what? But it's not functioning. It's not
maybe
functioning
not Florida
this
State.
way.
It's not. Maybe there's a discombobulated.
That's why we're 1-7.
I mean,
that's why we're 1-7, and because. If
you're saying they were on the field last year and 10 wins the others.
That was last year. I don't give a shit about that.
No, 2 years ago they were 10 wins. So there were 23 wins.
Here's the bottom line.
So why did it work then?
The ownership.
Why did it work?
Well, we talked about that before. We said we had a quarterback, Jordan Travis, who bailed out a shitty offensive line for the most part by his ability to scramble and get away from people until he got beat up. Oh, we had a lot of good players. Okay,
but now it's just.
But you're not going to have.
Now it's a lot of luck for 2 years.
No, I didn't say that.
You did. You just said that. You said it was lucky for
Jordan
Travis.
What are you saying, KB?
But you're acting like Florida State doesn't have any of these systems.
Never mind. You're missing my point.
I'm not. I just.
When you're in a dumpster fire, you need to take a strong look at your organization and how it's functioning. And that's all I'm trying to suggest.
Yeah, and it's usually the personnel within it that you need to take out. That's it.
Okay.
Well, and that's why we've been saying you need to take out 8 or 9 coaches potentially. You need to take out most of your staff and start over.
What if the coach doesn't want to do that? Then what? What is the organization?
Then he'll be fired shortly after. He'll keep losing and he'll be bought out. Okay. I mean, that's what will happen. If Mike Norvell doesn't make changes to this staff, he'll continue to lose, and he'll be eventually bought out, which, will not be a bad day for him because it'll be for $40 or $30 or $20 million. But that's what will happen.
Okay. Well, I'm an advocate.
Organizations are made up of people.
And you don't like hearing about it, so I'll do a show on my own sometime where I can kind of go through the way I see this, because there's a lot of, we quickly went through some organization. God, there were how many people were on that list? You have to really go in and clean the house and see what you can salvage. It's like after a flood goes through your house, leaves all the mud and debris. You've got to go in. What can I salvage out of this? And you know what?
Take the head people out. They leave. And then the new people you hire,
who are the head
all the
people?
Assistant coaches.
You'd fire them all?
Yes. Absolutely.
Well, they're not the heads. You're talking about.
Yes, they are, because all the assistants are underneath of them. Fuller, Randy Shannon.
Let's start with
Atkins,
Fuller and Atkins. People. Are you going to remove both of them?
Yes.
Okay, you're going to remove them. Okay.
Fuller, I would evaluate, but
well, you're not. You got to evaluate Atkins. Everybody gets evaluated. Everyone.
But anyone I go through and I evaluate: did you perform? Did you recruit? Did you develop? If you can't check more than 2 of those boxes, you're gone. And if you're gone, then every analyst beneath you is gone, more than likely, because the person I bring in is going to want to bring in their own people or evaluate who's already in that position. Because all these assistants that come in already had their own analysts and people underneath them that they trust. They're not going to want to keep who Alex Atkins brought in or who Adam Fuller brought in. That's why you don't have to go.
Some of those guys will probably leave anyways.
Exactly. So that's why you don't have to go review all 100 people, because those people will get fired by the new staff coming in, or they'll leave for a new role or follow who they were with. That's why it takes care of itself. You take care of the head people, the top assistant coaches, and then everyone else leaves. It cleans its own house.
Well, let's talk about the reality of that really happening. Do you think it's going to happen?
If Mike Norvell's a real coach, then yes, it will happen. I at this point in time,
I didn't ask you if he's a real coach. Do you think he's going to do this? You've been able to watch this guy for 5 years now. Do you think he's going to make such a...
He'll make changes. I just don't know if he'll make enough changes. That's my answer. Will he? I don't know if he'll clean enough house to make.
Well, we predict games. Do you think he'll fire Alex Atkins? Do you think he has enough evidence, supporting evidence, to fire Atkins, or encouraging him to move on?
Yes.
Okay. Let Atkins find a job, and then Atkins will just say, "I left." There's different ways to move people on.
How you do it.
Well, no, the coaches care because it's in a corporation. These guys are in a network, so they do have ways they like to do it. And he could probably, with Dugans, I think Dugans and Odell will probably retire. Okay? I think they'll be encouraged to retire. Okay? And then they'll announce retirements. And then Atkins will find another job on his own, and he'll say, okay, they'll wish him goodbye. Everybody will have a big pizza party, and everybody will go. There's ways to do it without it looking like Al Capone walked in from Chicago with his machine gun and took everybody out.
But that's the issue. I don't care, and he shouldn't care. He just knows that changes need to be made, and you can't care how it looks. People need to see that this is not acceptable. That at a national level, it's not acceptable.
People see that. People already see that.
No, they don't. They don't see that it's not acceptable.
Who doesn't see that? Who?
Because Florida State hasn't made any changes. They think it's okay. It's fine. We're going to keep it. That's what I'm saying. You have to make a statement that says this is not acceptable on our program. We don't accept losing at this altitude and not having a competent offense, not having a great offensive line. Make change. I don't care if you have to you don't sweet talk it or whatever. Just get rid of them. Get rid of them. You have to make a statement to recruits, to people who are coming in, that if we struggle this badly, we will get rid of the guy. Even if it's 1 year in, we will get rid of him to make sure that we put you around the best coaches possible, to develop you, to recruit you, to get you to the next level. Because right now it is not acceptable, and Mike Norvell hasn't been strong enough about this for the previous years on certain position coaches. He's let this fester within his organization, and that's why people don't trust if he'll make the right decisions.
And he's paying the price for it right now. Okay?
Yeah.
So if he fails, as you say, to make changes, then he has to be held accountable, but he has to hold other people accountable. And it's unfortunate, but the one where when you evaluate people's performances, whether it's in commercial business or if it's in sports, which sports is easy because you can really see the numbers. Now, you can also do it in commercial businesses. You can see numbers on people. A used car salesman, they know how many cars he sold, new or used or whatever. They put the stats up there so they can see them. There has to be a level of accountability, and the first level of that accountability is this offense sucks. This offense is it's probably the worst Florida State offense ever in history, I'm guessing. Now, I haven't looked at the numbers of 1973 when I was there, and it was 0-11. I don't know what those numbers are, but these numbers have to be horrible, and we know they're horrible. So the bottom line is a level of accountability, and in this case, it's not even marginal. Now, what people are arguing is, does Alex Atkins stay because he's all of a sudden he's got some commits? He's got some verbal commits from some. He's got 1 5-star and a couple of 4-star guys, I believe. And so everybody's starting to, well, God, if Atkins goes, he's going to take those guys too. He's going to take them, or they're not going to come here because he's gone. I say you as a head coach have to go on the evaluation of what you've seen, which is 4 or 5 years of work with Alex Atkins. The statistics are clear. The statistics are clear that it's not working. It's not working.
He hasn't had a single player drafted. That's enough.
That's what I mean. Okay.
It's not brain surgery. We don't need a whole case again. It's easy.
Well, there is. Well, for Mike, you need a whole case because he's not making any actions.
That's why nobody trusts him to make the right decision at the end of the season.
They trust him to spend $10 million a year. So
this is why people don't trust him, because he didn't make these moves, and there's been nothing to show.
I think where you and I are on the same sheet. I'm just asking for a longer term build and do it right versus has to win tomorrow. I mean, whoever wins these next 4 games, it's immaterial. This is all player evaluation and player development. Let's switch over to what's happening on the recruiting scene and the damages that are happening there. So FSU, and I just have a short list. I probably missed some people here. Marion Charles, he's a 4-star USA top 100 out of Port Charlotte. He's decommitted. He's taken his commitment back as of 7 September. Javon Hilson from IMG, which plays pretty good competition. 4-star defensive end and edge. He was the number 5 guy in the USA top 100. He decommitted. And then most recently, CJ Wiley, a 4-star wide receiver, who everybody says is a significant blue chipper. He decommitted just recently. So what's your feelings on the hit we're going to take? Because now I think our class is ranked for 2025. The class is ranked like out of the top 50.
It's still 23rd. It was previously 12th. I mean, yeah, you've dropped significantly. I think the biggest, you're going to continue to take some hits, and that'll depend on which coaches you keep and relationships and stuff like that. Depends how close Mike Norvell was recruiting certain players and not. You'll probably lose Chase Lofton, which I don't think you really need another tight end if you're able to keep Landon Thomas and
Williams.
Amari. So can you keep some of these linemen in the fold like Payne Joseph and Solomon? If you're able to keep Solomon Thomas, that's a huge win. With losing probably Alex Atkins. My big thing is that you got to recruit key positions, skill positions. I don't care about like receiver, running back, things like that. It's the core, the trenches is where high school I think means the most to you, even quarterback, because the trenches are so hard to find and develop the right way, or find key contributors, especially in the portal. I think you need a mixture of both the portal and high school to develop those areas the right way. So really doubling down on the trenches. If I was Mike Norvell, I would be talking to Solomon Thomas every day if I wasn't in that recruiting, which I'm sure he is because he's a 5-star. But all the target guys that are trench-based, O-line, defensive end, I would be talking to those guys every day to make sure they know, regardless if their position coach gets fired or not, they're in the loop on every decision that's getting made. It's not going to be a surprise or whatever, because these guys are looking elsewhere based on Florida State's record. So anyone he wants to keep, I bet he's hopefully talking to every single day that he can legally, based on rules. But I would go with trenches. Keep the trench guys. Keep them in the fold as much as possible. And then the skill position players, do your best that you can. But those guys, I think, are easier to find in the portal when possible. The trench guys, you need those guys as backups, as development players, especially the highly rated guys, because those guys are hard to evaluate out of the portal, as well as hard in high school too. But you need bodies at those positions, as many bodies as possible that you can get up. And then the receivers, tight ends, things like that, you can find those guys. Defensive backs, you can find those players, I feel like, more in the portal than any other way. So that would be my strategy. But once again, you're going to lose more guys, in my opinion. This is going to be a class, and this is why we don't get excited about summer recruiting. The people say, oh, another one, because until the schedule's played, those commits don't mean shit to you. And I don't blame the players. The players have to look at the program and say, is this going to be the right fit for me? And that's why summer recruiting is just like a dance. It's just a flirting session. When it gets towards December, that's when it starts to get serious. And the only good thing for Florida State is that these kids know where you stand. You're 1-7. You're not turning this around midseason. So, you know, they know where you stand right now. They know this is going to be a rebuild. They know what you're pitching to them. You've had a chance to say, guys, this is
How do you pitch a kid? How do you pitch a kid knowing he's coming into a total rebuild? How would you pitch him?
You're pitching playing time, and you're pitching.
Money.
If you're Mike, you're pitch playing time, the opportunity to make, because they're going to spread money around. Money, playing time, and
getting plenty of tape. Yeah, early tape, early opportunities.
If you think you're going to get paid, if you actually think you're ready to play and play early, then this is the right place for you and play at a high level. We open against Alabama next year. You want to be at the biggest stage possible against Alabama on prime time? Come here. If you actually think as a player,
I don't even want to think about that next year. Oh,
but that's what you can sell. That's what you can sell, is that you'll have an opportunity to immediately compete, be part of one of the top NIL collectives, and have the opportunity to make money.
Yeah, I like the message. I think he can. And he's already changed his message. He had to change his message, right? And what you just went through it. And it's easy. It's not easy, but it's
no.
Listen. And here's what. If none of that works out, we gave you some good money. You got a lot of valuable tape. You got some training under your belt. You played a lot of reps. If it doesn't work out, you can leave. It's called the portal. I don't want you to leave, but that portal's there. You know it's there. Yeah. So if none of this works out to your satisfaction or what your parents think or your team of experts think, then you leave. Yeah. But you've then accomplished a lot. That's why you should come here, because if you go to Georgia, Alabama, or Texas, what are your chances of getting on the field in the first year? Low,
very low.
In the second year, probably lower, maybe a little bit higher, depending how good you are.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen your high school tape. You're pushing around, you're demolishing a lot of kids. I saw a tape of a thing the other day. The kid was so big, he was pushing this little kid around. They're going, look at that. This guy should be. I'm going, come on. So the bottom line is he can send a message, and he's changing that message now. The same message when he was rebuilding the first time.
Yeah, I think the key thing is that you want to keep, in my opinion, I think you want to keep a high blue chip rate. I don't think you just want to sign I hate to say it, but a bunch of players just to sign players.
But he may be forced to, depending on the attrition on this roster.
But at the same time, you can go in the portal and do the same thing. I'd rather take a guy that has 3 years of development in a college program and he's never played.
Exactly.
I take a body of a man that's developed than a high school player that's never going to play or has to compete early.
I agree.
18.
I agree.
So I would say try to keep your class as quality as possible, even if it's small. And then if you have to backfill guys, go in the portal and take a guy maybe from a smaller school, or at least he's been built up in an athletic college program for 2 years. And
exactly.
I would not just sign high schoolers to sign high schoolers. Avoid the 3-star guys that could have upside in 3 years, unless you really, really see something. That's what I would avoid.
Yeah, I think we've said, and a lot of people are saying, and we agree with that, is player evaluation. How is that process working in this program? And I think that would be fascinating to know, given all these off-the-field positions and recruiters and football recruiting and assistants. How is this? Because there's no way Norvell can do all of this and then try to call plays. I believe what he's going to do to try to shake things up, one of the things he's going to do, he is going to hire an OC who's been an OC, hopefully has a good, solid resume, and he will be the play and he will give up the play calling. I think that's an easy one for him to do, and I think it's the appropriate thing for him to do. Yeah, let's remember, Norvell has only coached at 2 schools, Memphis and Florida State, and that's it. Okay, and his record is 31-17 here at Florida State. His overall record is he was 38 wins and 15 losses at Memphis, 31-17 here. So what is that? 69-32.
Yeah.
69-32. That's not Hall of Fame numbers. And now this is a second rebuild here at Florida State. So he's got to make some good decisions, and they all have to kind of work. And if not, he won't survive. He may survive through 25. I think if they get to 525, I'd be very happy. If they get more than that, then so be it. There's talent on this football team, but I'm not sure how elite it is. And maybe these guys maybe they've hit their ceilings, and they're trying. I don't think any of them have nailed it in. I think they try.
I think
the defense has been trying. I just think there's a lack of experience now, and they just, they're just not competitive.
There's a lack of execution and game planning. They need new coaches.
And the coaching
to be able
is
to
questionable.
adjust the game plan to the personnel, and that's a lot of it. This team is not bad enough to not score 21 points in the game. I hate to tell you.
I've never
seen
this.
This team is not that damn bad that they cannot score 21 points in the game. That is
Right.
that is a lot of that is on coaching and execution and game planning. They have not adjusted well enough to their personnel to be able to score.
I think hiring the OC with play calling is an easy decision for him to make, and I think he will do that. I predict he'll do that. And given that we're at our game prediction time right now,
yes.
do you want me to go first?
Yeah,
I'll go first. Well, at the beginning of the season, I picked the Noles to go undefeated. Well, how's that worked out? Not well. But I had every reason to believe, given the information and the chatter, as they say in the intelligence world, the chatter, that this team was going to be in pretty good shape. But with UNC, I think this is a winnable game. At home here in the Doak, I think people are going to show up because they're interested in where is this program going. And if the Noles don't turn the ball over and can play in the trenches, physically in the trenches, shut down some of that run game by UNC, I think the Noles could win this game. And I'm going to pick them to win this in a last-minute field goal. I think the spread is what?
2.5.
2.5. I'm going to take Fitz to hit a field goal late in the game. Noles hold on for a 3-point, maybe a 1 to 3 point victory. And I'm not saying that because it'd be easy to pick them to lose, but I think this is winnable. Just like I'll pick them to win Charleston Southern.
I just haven't seen enough from this offense has just not been adjusted to beat any team and has just not shown up week after week. And UNC's put up 41, 34, 24 in their last 3 games against decent teams. And Florida State just has not been able to game plan an offense that can score more than 16 points.
Yeah.
And you have to score points to win football games. I mean, this defense is not elite shutdown. They do enough to keep the Florida State in the game, but they're not going to shut a team down for 10 points or 7 points. They can't do that. So I got to pick UNC to win by 2 at least. I just unless we find a way, unless the offense actually comes alive, is adjusted, playmakers stop dropping the ball, but I can't just say Florida State will win because I've not seen evidence that they are able to put it together offensively in a cohesive way to be the team that is on paper better than Florida State. So I'm going to pick UNC by a touchdown at least.
Okay.
Sadly.
Well, we welcome
I hope
back.
I'm surprised.
We welcome back Mack Brown to his old stomping grounds of 1972 and 73, and we hope he leaves on a sad note by Florida State beating him. And we want this football team to win. We want this program to be very successful, just like we do any of the FSU programs. We've been fans all our lives, Obviously I was there. I hear the younger media type saying, well, this is the worst. I can't ever remember doing. Well, no, a couple of people in my age group, we were there, and I've seen them show up on some media sites saying, no, we were there, 0-11, where Florida State almost dumped their program. That's a true story. They almost dumped the program financially, okay? And they went out and found a coach in West Virginia named Bobby Bowden, who was also being run out of town by the Mountaineers. That's a true story. It's documented. And he said, I'll come down there and take over this dumpster. And he did. And he built those championship teams in that dynasty through the high school ranks. But it was a different time, a different era. But boy, did he get some damn good players, out of the high school ranks. He was a top-notch recruiter, and he put together some good staffs until the end of the career, when he was too much on the loyalty side. Loyalty can damage your program. So,
all right, we'll leave it at that. So hopefully Florida State can pull off an upset and keep Mack Brown winless. Stay tuned or watch at 3:30 ACC Network, and we'll see what happens. Well, thank you all for joining us. Have a happy Halloween. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. And, join us for more next week as we break down the game and hopefully celebrate a win. Thank you all for joining us. Happy holiday, and have a great one.
Happy Halloween.
Take care, everyone.
Brush your teeth.
Take care, everyone. See
After
ya.
the candy.